begin by asking you, 25 years since the return to democracy and President Bola Tinubu at the helm of affairs, what is said? What do you make of those comments?
Years of uninterrupted civil rule. It's not yet democracy. We're still struggling to put democracy in place. I listened to the president's speech, and I was particularly moved where he lauded or praised the journalists, a group of journalists for contributing to the struggle for the restoration of democracy in the country. But as a lawyer, I also became worried because right now, some journalists are languishing in custody, defending a couple of them because they were alleged to have defamed certain powerful people in the society. For me, I find this contradictory because by 1983, before the second coming of the military, in the case of Otto Nwankwo, incidentally, the president, mentioned the name of Otto Nwankwo as one of the heroes of democracy. In the case of Otto Nwankwo and the state, the Court of Appeal took advantage of that case to annul seditious publications, the provisions of the criminal code relating to sedition. And the court made the point there that Nigerians must resist any attempt by the government to erode the democratic rights that Nigerians have fought for, particularly freedom of expression. That this was a law invoked by the colonial regime to silence Nigerians, and that under a democratic government, that must not be allowed. And those in government, if they feel too, if they feel too irascible and intolerant of criticisms, they should either plug their ears with cotton wool or leave the government, because criticism is indispensable in a democratic society. For us to go back now using Cyber Crimes Act to harass Nigerians, and my wife was telling me this morning, Femi, the Cyber Crimes Act is worse than Decree 4, because Decree 4 was only there to criminalize not telling the truth. This time around, defaming people has been criminalized. But what is worse, Sheung, is that the law was amended in February this year to remove cyber stalking, insult, and the rest of them. So what the law now provides for is that anybody who uses the computer to send any message that contains pornographic materials or any message that can cause a breakdown of law and order in the country, no more. But the police and some other security agencies have been invoking the repeal provisions of that section. And that is why, in celebrating democracy, the government, through the Attorney General, must educate the police and other security agencies that this law has been amended, and the question of criminalization of the freedom of expression in Nigeria can no longer be tolerated, can no longer be accepted. Secondly, in celebrating 25 years of democracy, because I think one of the ministers did say that the programs of the government, look like the program of the winner of the June 12th election, Bashorem Abiola. I think the program of Abiola was captured in his manifesto, Farewell to Poverty. Can we say that today, whereby successive regimes in Nigeria, be it military or civilian, all the regimes, particularly since 1986, have implemented one policy or the other of imperialism. What is going on now in town is the religious implementation of neoliberal policies dictated by the IMF and World Bank. Whereas Chief Femi Abiola, in spite of his pro-Western position, had made the point that as president of Nigeria, he would not allow the IMF and the World Bank to control Nigeria. In fact, in his characteristic style, they say, who are these young men, running the IMF to tell us what to do in our country? I think for us to celebrate June 12th mandate, the government in power owes it a duty to promote the happiness of the Nigerian people in line with Section 16 of the Constitution. And of course, in accordance with the manifesto of the winner of the election. And this country must fight the intervention of the Bretton Woods institutions that are prevailing on the government, that are urging the Nigerian government to multiply the suffering of the Nigerian people through the removal of subsidies from energy, from fuel, from the rest of them, and the commercialization of social services. Happily, the government this year, the president this year, that he appreciates the suffering of Nigerians, but that Nigerians should continue to exercise patience. This has been the language of the government for over 40 years. We're always told there'll be light at the end of the tunnel. But instead of things getting better for the masses of our people, things are getting tougher. And that is why the celebration of yesterday was by a tiny segment of the population, political office holders. For the majority of our people who are wallowing in poverty, there's nothing to celebrate. So next time that we are going to celebrate the June 12th day, Democracy Day, our people must be empowered. And we must start now to empower our people economically and politically, free them from detention. Allow the laws that have made illegal, that have prohibited illegal arrest and illegal detention of citizens to work.
Anna, let me jump in. Yeah, let me jump in quickly.
Our people are economically empowered.
Yeah. Well, some of the things that you have described tonight, that you say is aching to the Tinubu government, looks like what is obtainable in the military junta. And one will imagine that the manner in which you have spoken, especially the treatment of journalists in this country under the last 1 year of President Tinubu, I'd like to know and get clarity of how you describe the civil liberty, expression of freedom of expression under this government.
Sean, there is no basis for comparison with respect for civil liberties under a neo-Tanzanese military junta and a civilian government. I mean, I can tell you, and I did say this in Kaduna 2 days ago, when we had some of the best programs lined up for the Democracy Day, whereby Governor Uba Sani released about 110 prisoners. I was invited to be part of the program, and I did make the point. And speaking for myself, I was jailed several times, charged with all manners of offenses, including treasonable felony to overthrow a military dictator. But we were never convicted. And I did say that for the past 25 years, I've never been arrested or detained. Between 1987 and 1997, 10 years, I couldn't travel through the airport. I had to travel through the, through the bush. We call it the alternative route, which people later call Nadeko route. We have been going through that route since 1987, whereas Nadeko was formed in 1994. So you can't compare. I mean, you mentioned my family on a regular basis. I was woken up in the night and taken away, sometimes for months. And there was a time my son, fast now, had to ask the mother, we're told in school that only criminal suspects are arrested. Is my father a criminal suspect? And my wife had to say, no, the government arrests two types of people, criminals and those who are fighting against injustice under military dictators and who are asking the military to leave us alone, allow democracy to be part of us. So I'm not talking about it. I'm talking of excesses not permitted by law that are going on. And that is a challenge for the government to walk its talk by ensuring through the office of the Attorney General that the police and security agencies in Nigeria are not allowed to erode the rights of our people. As it is the case now, we've gone a long way to banish illegal arrests in lieu of people, arrests for civil wrongs. We've gone far. Obtaining police permit to demonstrate, we have won the battle. What we are now saying is that the government must monitor the violations of our rights. The Police Establishment Act 2020 provides that every police station in Nigeria shall have a lawyer to monitor human rights enforcement, compliance in every police station. So we need at least 5,000 lawyers to monitor human rights compliance in police stations. That has not been done. It is also stated in the Constitution, in that Police Act, that every Nigerian who is arrested, who has no lawyer, even in a police station, is entitled to demand for a lawyer, which, that will be supplied by the Legal Aid Council. So Nigerians' rights have been restored, granted by government, and improved upon by law. But we are saying, in practice, on a daily basis, massive violations of the rights of our people take place. And the government doesn't seem to appreciate that it has a duty to ensure that the rights of our people are respected. So, there's a wide gulf between civil liberties under the military and civil liberties under a civilian government. Your passport could be seized at any time. You will not be allowed to go out of town. You couldn't go to court because every decree, that had to do with the liberty of our people contain an outside clause that the court cannot challenge anything done or purported to have been done under a decree. So there's no basis. All I'm saying is that the government must appreciate that we are operating under a civilian dispensation, and the terrorist activities or the terrorist practices of military dictators must not be allowed under a democratic dispensation. That is the issue.